Hello, I'm Lauren Wilkinson, Senior Policy Researcher at the Pensions Policy Institute. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 2021 edition of the DC Future Book in association with Columbia Threadneedle Investments. Now in its 7th edition, the DC Future Book has become an essential source of longitudinal data, tracking trends across the DC landscape. Following a turbulent 18 months, economically and otherwise, this tracking is especially important as it enables us to identify where behaviour and outcomes may have been impacted, as well as the longer-term risks that might be up ahead. The DC Future Book contains a huge amount of data and analysis on the DC landscape, so it would be impossible to cover everything, but here are some of this year's key findings. By June this year, 10.5 million employees were automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme, while a further 944,000 have been re-enrolled after having previously opted out. However, the number of employees found ineligible for automatic enrolment has continued to grow more rapidly, reaching 10.1 million by June compared to 9.8 million last year. While it's too early to draw conclusions about the full impact of the pandemic, some schemes have observed increased opt-out rates over the last year. However, so far available data suggests that there have been no significant changes in average contribution levels for those who have continued to contribute. Now almost a decade on from the beginning of automatic enrolment, we're beginning to see its success beyond just getting more savers than ever before into pension saving. We're now seeing average pot sizes grow too. Prior to automatic enrolment, average DC pot sizes were around £15,000. But the introduction of many new savers into the market, accruing initially small pension pots, meant that average pot sizes declined. Last year, for the first time since automatic enrolment was introduced, average DC pot sizes began to grow, increasing by £300 compared to the previous year. This year we saw an even more substantial increase, with average DC pot sizes increasing from £9,600 to £11,400. This growth illustrates the continuing success of automatic enrolment, with average pot size increasing and expected to equal or even surpass pre-automatic enrolment levels in the next few years. The number of DC pots accessed declined significantly in 2020, especially the number of pots being fully withdrawn, suggesting that savers were understandably cautious about accessing savings during a period of volatility. In 2020, around 277.5 thousand DC pots were accessed for the first time, a 36% decrease on the previous year. 49,000 of these pots were used to purchase annuities, 94,000 were moved into drawdown, and 134.5 thousand were fully withdrawn. The volatility and uncertainty experienced during 2020 had a significant impact on DC access behaviour. However, it's unclear what the longer-term impact might be on access trends. We also saw both annuity and drawdown purchasers less likely to take any advice when making this decision. But again, it's unclear whether this was a short-term effect driven by greater difficulty accessing advice, or if this trend will continue over the longer term. On a scheme level, we've identified 6 key lessons to be learned from DC schemes' experience of and reaction to the pandemic. 1. Long-term investment horizons and diversified portfolios help DC schemes to cope with the extreme short-term volatility seen in the early months of the pandemic. 2. The immediate impact of volatility on those near to, at, or in retirement suggests that lifestyle strategies still have an important role to play post-pension flexibilities. 3. While the pandemic presented an opportunity for schemes to review their investment strategy, many did not make significant changes, and this strategy protected some pension savers from crystallising investment losses. 4. While the pandemic has introduced uncertainty and risk, it's also presented opportunities for investment. 5. Because the impact and response to the pandemic varies around the world, attitudes towards globalisation may shift. And finally 6. There is an increased focus on responsible and sustainable investment, especially around social factors.